Hey, I'm Pastor Jason. I get to be the pastor of Church in the Wild, and I just wanted to talk over with you just a couple brief moments about this week's upcoming sermon. This week we're talking about and continuing our series called Only Jesus. We're at week 11 of 12 in this series, Only Jesus, and we're getting ready to wrap this series up. I'm super excited. We're going to wrap it up and then begin our Wildlife Week, where we put kind of all of these sermons and all of these messages and thoughts about Jesus into action. And for 1 week straight, we just unconditionally love and give to our community. No thought of budget, no thought of getting something back, just loving our community with whatever we have and all of our heart, all of our effort, and all of our mind. And I wanted to talk to you about this message and idea today. And it's just simply the idea that we find in John chapter 20, verse 20, where he says to his disciples, "Reach hither, behold my hands and my feet." I don't know why, but like a while ago I was reading that passage, and those words, "behold my hands and my feet," just jumped out of the page at me. And I think it's probably because I've heard you are the hands and the feet of God ever since I was a child. And I love that saying, I love that thought, I love that idea. But I have to admit, it's kind of always maybe gotten misconstrued by me, because I've always thought that meant that I needed to spend a lot of time and effort and go on a plane and go all the way across the world to some other country, land, and for like a week out of my life, give unconditionally to the people in that country. I think it may be because as a kid, we were always told that if we didn't like something, we thought, oh, this isn't any good. People would say, well, there's starving kids and they would name the country that would love to have that. And so mentally, I just put those two together and thought, well, if I'm going to be the hands and the feet of Jesus, that means I need to go into another country and feed some poor people or help some homeless people. And I didn't really grasp the idea fully for a long time, what it meant to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. What's interesting is hands and feet are mentioned all through the Bible. All the way back, I found in Deuteronomy 11:24, in Psalm chapter 22, verse 16, in Exodus 35, in Luke chapter 24, verses 39 through 40, in John 20, 27, in Luke 4:40, in Matthew 25, 38 through 40. They're just all over the Bible, these references to being the hands and the feet, or talking about the hands and the feet of God. I started thinking about that, and I just was kind of wondering what all that meant. And I was looking at thinking, what do hands and feet actually do? Because why didn't God say, like, over and over, hey, look at my side? Now we know he said to his disciples, look at my side, but not as often as it's this reference of my hands and my feet. I think that hands and feet always produce action. So we are always doing something. Like when I'm talking right now, you're probably like, bro, this guy talks too much with his hands, especially right now because I'm trying to prove a point. But hands and feet always produce action. When I talk, I move my hands and I often move my feet, to the point where a lot of people get annoyed with me and they're like, bro, hold still, stop walking around. But hands and feet always produce action. They are, you could say, the evidences of an action or a thought. So my brain tells my hands to move. My heart may tell my hands why to move. But until my hands actually move, there's no evidence that my brain was telling my hands to move. My heart was telling my hands why to move, my feet why to move. But when our hands and our feet move, they are the evidence of action. For Christ, he showed his disciples, behold my hands and my feet, and look at my side, because they were the evidences of his resurrection. And I wonder how many times in our life, people, certainly all the way across the world, but also right across the aisle at church, or right across the aisle at the supermarket, or right across the lane and the highway from us, or right across as we reach out to grab our coffee. Evidence that we love coffee is that we reach out to take it. I wonder how many people around us need to see the evidence of the resurrection in us, in the believers, in the followers of Jesus Christ daily. And we may believe that they need to see Jesus. We may even in our hearts know why they need to see Jesus. But I wonder how often we actually show them the resurrection, show them the evidence, show them the power and the love of Jesus Christ. I think hands and feet, first of all, they hold. One of the evidences of resurrection in our life is that we may be there to hold the hand of someone who's going through something difficult. We may also show that when we go through something difficult, that we can hold the hand of God and that He's with us even in the hard times. And that's a beautiful and powerful evidence of the resurrection. And I wonder how many people all around our city, all around your home, all around your place just need you to hold them as they go through something difficult. Hands and feet hold. Hands and feet also go. I know, we just said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go all the way around the world, but are you willing to go all the way around the world to show the love of Christ? Are you willing to go across the street to that person who just needs someone to go to them? I can't tell you how many times in our lives I'll be talking to someone and they'll say, I had no idea that my neighbor was even a Christian and that they went to church, and we've been neighbors for 30 years. I do this little test for myself, and this shows me how much work we have to do as a church, but I'll go into a gas station and be like, hey, can you tell me where this church? And I'll say Church in the Wild. Or I'll say, hey, what do you know about Church in the Wild? And almost without fail, people say, I don't know anything about it. Every now and then people will be like, I saw this about him, or I know someone from there, right? But it's rare, and it shows me that I as a pastor, I as a Christian, and we as a church have so much more room to go until everyone around us knows, hey, what do you think about Jesus? Oh, Jesus, someone told me about him, blah, blah, blah. Then we're not going the way we should be going. They also show. I think that Christ showed the evidence of the resurrection, and we can show the evidence of the resurrection in our life, in our friends and our families' lives, when we get involved in their life. Hands and feet always produce action. God cannot show if we do not show. God cannot go if we do not go, because we are His body. See, the Bible doesn't actually say that we are the hands and the feet of Christ, but it does actually say that we are His body. And as being part of His body, we need to be willing to extend our hands and our feet, and we need to be willing to share, and we need to be willing to hold, we need to be willing to go, and we need to be willing to show the love and the evidence of the power of the resurrection to everyone that we encounter. So I think that when Christ said to His disciples, look at my hands, look at my feet, they are evidence of my resurrection. You think about what He did with those hands and His feet after He was resurrected. He fed His disciples. He used His hands to physically care for His disciples. We know that He said over and over, hey, my disciples are in Galilee, I'm going to go and meet them. He used His feet to go to where they were. Christ used His hands and His feet to show that He loved, cared for, forgave, and wanted desperately to have a relationship and to use the talents and the gifts of His followers. He used His hands and His feet to show His resurrection. And I hope that as a church, as a global church, that we show the resurrection of Jesus Christ everywhere we go. Whether it's by giving someone food, whether it's by giving someone clothing, whether it's by giving someone who's broken comfort, whether it's holding the hand of someone who's hurting, or whether it's simply giving away things that we have to people. The Bible says that that Jesus actually talks about how his followers, the evidence is that they give to people who are broken and hungry. And when we give to people who are broken and hungry, it's as if we are giving to Christ himself. So his evidence is that when we use our hands to give, to hold, to go, to show, we are evidencing the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this message. If you're looking for an opportunity to be a part of a church, we would love to have you join us at Church in the Wild right here in Westerville. We meet every Sunday at 11 a.m. If you're looking at being a part of a church, but it's maybe too far, we've got churches that we can recommend for you. If you're looking for an opportunity to be a part of a church that's trying desperately to be the hands and the feet of God, I would recommend that you get our app. You can be a part of that. You can connect with us on there. You can follow along in messages. You can watch videos just like this. You can also donate to our church, and our church goes all over. We're going to Riverton, Wyoming, to the Arapahoe Indian Reservation very soon. We've got a trip planned to go to the inner city of Detroit next year and help out there. We're going to go and have men's retreats where we just pour into men and we pour into women who desperately need God poured into their life. So we also go and we're part of Stowe Mission, and we're part of Warm here in Westerville, and we want to be the hands and the feet of God. So if you're looking for a church to invest in, the life change that takes place through Church in the Wild, you could do that right through our app. Thank you very much for checking this out. I appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.